following commercials were aired in 2009 and were not aired in 2024. A lot of these promotions and sales are not even existent to this day. The Middle was actually one of our favorite shows growing up, and that's the reason why I included the commercials in this, to emphasize the commercials that we would be watching during the TV show's airing. So, these commercials are not meant for any commercial usage, and any other usage of the following footage without the direct consent of the publisher is strictly prohibited. All rights are reserved to these stations.
Are you
$229 a month, and Ray Skillman has the state's largest selection of fresh new Kias.
For selection and savings, it's Ray Skillman Shaylin Kia, Indy's #1 volume Kia dealer for the last 11 years.
People of Indiana, now you have a voice. 6 News introduces The Rant. Are you mad?
That's the stupidest thing.
Or sad?
I feel terrible.
Or proud?
It's wonderful.
Get it off your chest. The Rant. On your side. Only on 6 News. Call the Rant line at 635-RANT.
Second episode of Keeping Up with the Middle, as this is Braydyn Bear once again with another very special episode in store for you today. I just recently, it was actually last night, I went to a thing at Morgenstern's Cafe at the Bloomington, Indiana, and I was actually reporting on this, but also at the same time covering this for the Bear-Man Journal, the blog I write. And since I don't work for any publications anymore, I figured why not do some freelance reporting and learn a little something about the case of Lauren Spierer, who had disappeared back on June 3rd of 2011. And there was actually an author who wrote the book, who actually has written a book called The College Girl Missing. And I have the book right in my hands right now. It's actually a deeper, more in-depth story about the disappearance of Lauren Spierer, and it's also about the crimes that had been committed even after she was murdered, or basically we really don't even know what happened to her, but there were some speculations of murder, kidnapping, that sort of stuff. So we actually went to Morgenstern's, myself actually went to Morgenstern's last night, and I listened in on Shawn Cohen, a reporter for the Daily Mail, and he talked to us specifically about how the Lauren Spierer case impacted his life, miscombobulations in terms of the police and law enforcement, enhancements in those areas, and also a new growing desire to learn more about the case, as other podcasts like my podcast and so many others are trying to explore the details of one of the most vicious crimes to ever happen at Indiana University. Well, I will say this, I was here in town for it. I was actually 9 or 10 at the time. It happened in 2011, so I would have been around 9 years old. I remember watching the Today Show, and the now disgraced Matt Lauer was talking about the case in depth. And that was when I first learned that Lauren Spierer was missing in the summer. News trucks were all over the place in downtown Bloomington, where the apartments where she lived at right now are. They've been renamed time and time and time again. And I believe that's where a lot of the special education students at IU that have to pay a certain premium to even go to the school and need extra help, that's where they live now. It's now called the Avenue. And so the apartment to this day I feel like is haunted, and that's just for personal opinion for another day. But yes, the town was very shell-shocked. And it will actually mention inside the interview, which I've had to reduce the audio levels of the tape for various reasons, because there were moments you couldn't even hear and moments you can hear, so it was kind of a mixture of both. It was a really packed house. I'd say maybe 100, 200 people were there, and given the fact it was a cafe, it's actually pretty big spot to not only read books but to also get coffee. A lot of people were getting coffee. That's why if you hear any sounds in the background of people making coffee, there is a cafe right behind where you have maybe 2 or 3 women cooking up lattes and that sort of stuff. And so it was a really packed scene that night. A lot of interest in the book and the disappearance of Lauren Spierer really rattles the minds of us Bloomingtonians for the rest of our lives, not knowing what happened to her, not knowing what could have happened to her. There were a lot of speculations, but Shawn Cohen really provided us a lot of answers. There were some details that were even left out by the media. And he said one very important line, and then I'm actually going to get to the interview here in a second, that I thought was really important and really the emphasis for this audio broadcast here today, which is really put emphasis on these little tiny cases, because as I said, if these cases go unsolved, it's a really big possibility that more cases will continue, corruption will continue, murder will continue, and there's a lot of mysterious facts about Lauren Spierer that haven't even been talked about in over 10 years. And in his book, he talked to 2 eyewitnesses that both live in New York, including one of them being his long-arranged girlfriend, or boyfriend, my bad. Her boyfriend was actually one of the people that were interviewed in the book as well. And they both left the IU campus after the disappearance. But so many questions were being raised in this case with so little answers until Cohen's newest book, which is available on Amazon. And if you actually do live in Bloomington, Morgenstern has the book on sale with signed copies in their store. I believe it's about $17.99, almost $18, so you can get it there. And I will read the back of the book to really put emphasis on what you're about to actually be listening to. And the panel host was not me or anybody like me. It was actually held by Morgenstern's Cafe. It's right next to Curry Auto Center. And we were able to get a lot of information that night, both factual and about conspiracy theories and that sort of stuff, as questions are still being raised. But they actually really gave us a clear opportunity to ask questions and all that sort of stuff to provide Cohen more insight on what we believe, and not of the 6 years. Get this, it was 6 years he investigated this. He investigated this case for a long time and never let go of the case. And his article is actually linked down in the description of this podcast. But I'm really excited to really bring this interview to you guys, as this is an Indiana mystery, kind of similar to the Delphi murders and kind of similar to one of the more horrific crimes featuring the mother back in the 70s in Indianapolis. And it really is, Indiana is a really crime-ridden community. Not as bad as the big cities, but a lot of small crimes are happening and a lot of corruption is going on in the police departments. My mom even told me the story about Lagodi and how they could just basically, these cops could murder people and then hide away the cash. So it's a lot of mysteries and a lot of crimes here. But before we get to the interview, I will read to you specifically what this book is about, because she, and actually this author, Shawn Cohen, really emphasized Spiere's life, Spiere's disappearance, and really emphasized how she was gone and the speculations, crimes against police and investigators, and footage lost. And he brings it all up in this particular book. I will read the back of the book since I'm not going to read a page of it. You can find that on Amazon. And all of those links are down in the description of this podcast, whether you're listening to it on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. It's going to be here. I promise you that. And it's going to be here to stay. And fortunately for a journalist like me, I learned a lot that night. And I really enjoyed this book, as I'm about to read it after getting it yesterday. So the back of the book, actually I will read you one of the quotes on here, as David Crow, an author of the book Paleface Lie, said, "This book is the heartbreaking story that every parent dreads. Cohen sheds light on what really happened the night Lauren was never seen again." And this part really struck a chord to me when I read the back of this. It will say the following: "She visited friends, she walked to a bar, she was right there until she was gone." College student Lauren Spierer was pursuing her dream as she joined her boyfriend at a party school 800 miles from home. Social and gregarious studying fashion, and rooming with friends. Lauren embraced her new adventure with the zeal of a young woman who suddenly had everything she desired. But there was a dark side that she and her inner circle kept secret. And one warm June evening, after heading out with friends, she seemingly vanished. When investigators retraced her last steps using eyewitness accounts and security camera footage, the evidence ended at the doorstep of a group of wealthy, well-connected male students. With original reporting including shocking new testimony witnesses never shared with police, College Girl Missing takes readers back to that fateful night and dives into the disappearance that captured front-page headlines around the world. Investigative journalist Shawn Cohen breaks more than a decade of silence as he pursues the truth on what really happened to Lauren Spierer. So that right there is what the book is about, and now we will get straight to the interview provided to us by Morgenstern's Books and Cafe in Bloomington, Indiana. Here is the official audio from that night, and I hope you learned something out of this, because boy, I learned something out of this too. But I need to first of all thank Morgenstern's Cafe for allowing us, including me, a college journalist in practice, to not only report on this story but also provide audio for this story, as this should have been live streamed. It was that good. So I thank you all for listening to this podcast if I do end up going. But I will emphasize that Morgenstern's did a fantastic job at providing journalists like me with the insightful information on what happened on that dreadful night in 2011. Here is the audio from that, and as I said, I will close it out with some final thoughts, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and enjoy, if you don't listen to me again, enjoy this audio recording from Shawn Cohen at Morgenstern's on Tuesday, May 28th, 2024.
from Hurricane Katrina to mass shootings. Pretty sucky stuff. Previously worked as Police Bureau Chief for New York Post, award-winning investigative reporter for the Journal of News in New York, led coverage on the Disappearance, of course, Award Bureau. Wanted to point this out to you, and it says in the book as well, but I just want you guys to know this for sure. Became a lead national reporter on the Spierer case with coverage featured in national media outlets. Lauren's family and private investigator gave someone open access to reporting on this book. So if there's any, talk about that, it was just letting us know. All right, we good?
We're good.
All right.
Is that too loud? Quiet? Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much for showing up.
Well, again, thank you for coming. We're pretty excited about this, and it's not a very exciting topic. So a little bit of me. My family, we were from Indiana, but we moved away. We were gone for 15 years, so we were gone. When did this happen? So a lot of people have asked me about this book. Is there anything, it's all new to me. We heard about it through the big media outlets and everything, but we didn't know the bits and pieces of it like you probably know that here. I realized talking to the town and talking about this event that the folks here are really vested in this. So I think that it's really important that we can actually have a conversation about this. So again, thank you guys for coming. And on a silly note, and I already talked to Shawn about this, after I read the book, I did a little bit of diving into read it and stuff, so I learned a little bit more bits and pieces. But I had no idea that apparently there's some theories that there's a serial killer manifest. So the reason why I said it is because when I read the book, I learned that there were a lot of weird happenings that happened during this time. I don't think there was anything. I just found it a little odd that I've never heard about that type of that. But I think that we said we wanted a little bit.
Yeah, there were certain people that were put in the headlines as a possibility, like, hey, this person may have been around at this time, but the various people, Daniel Nessel, the Israel Keys, the Court Hamley, they got some attention in the media that were debunked.
So going back, we talked a little bit, I think you mentioned it in the book, but why journalism?
I was at Northeastern University, business major, 2 years in, and not passionate at all about it. I think the one thing I was good at was putting together papers and talking to people. I just decided to do this last shift to journalism. Something like grades just went from low to super high, was just absolutely clicked with me. So it was my calling.
Nice. I don't think a lot of these things that too. Some of us later in life that I think that it's okay. My next question, aside from being in the same area that Lauren was from, what made this case so important?
So just a little background. After Lauren went missing, the next day her parents flew in, and after spending a day around town, they had a friend of Lauren's alert the media. So we got the first call of the Journal News, which was on paper in New York. So I put up a story and Saturday, and somebody was leaking that the case was spreading around. So Monday morning I came here and got started. With the Spierer, I met them for the first time in Bloomington. They didn't keep their license at the time because they wanted the investigation up to the police. Weren't really happy with the story about what happened before she disappeared. She was out with because I was the reporter who was putting a lot of this stuff out there, who at the time was the case unfolding, started to, speak with me more, and then over time we closed, especially after they went back to New York after how their summer. And I keep up with the spirits, in particular Charlene, and we meet for lunch at the local diner, or just became close. And then flash forward several years, I between jobs, I approached them with the idea of reinvestigating the case, and told them that I needed, wanted to look people in their investigative files, jobs and able to. So they agreed and trusted me, and that began. So we're trying to keep it from where they left off.
So how long between you speaking and the lesson here to the book finish? How long was the time?
6 years. Probably just finished most of the book a year ago. About 5 years.
Sure. Well, I think
It's a process.
that was paper.
Well, yeah.
Dig it back in. And then I always ask authors, and this is kind of a 2 or 3 part question. Number one, why did you write the book? Have you always wanted to write a book in general? But now that it's finished, and you think back to the interview that you did, or with some of the people in the book, have you found the more questions that you should ask?
Why did I write the book? I thought that I remember at the 1-year mark of this case, I sat down with a private investigator and got a little bit of information of what a couple of key players had told private investigators. But in that 1-year piece, 10 years later, really, was still, when the anniversary stories would come up, you'd still see my story from 10 years ago. And it's like nothing's happened. But somehow, hey, it's the anniversary, and there was a couple of statements, hoping today is the day. So I think when all these years later, it's still heartbreaking every time I met with them, and I felt that I felt a real responsibility. So the idea was, why I wrote the book was to put the case front and center again, so that people aren't just talking about, boy, another year, how heartbreaking it is. But where is the case now? What are the facts of the case? So I was able to run miles past the early coverage and put it into this book. So the idea is, here we are in 2024, looking at all the facts that at least I was able to get, that was fit within the book, and to have a fresh, get people talking about the case and honing in on what I was able to drum up and see where, there's still some areas where we can ask questions, push for answers. And now's the time.
And we can go back to the video if you want to say, how about going back more towards now that you have finished, like most of us, when you're to the would have afterwards or something like that. Are there questions or that you wish you would have asked?
There's a couple things where I feel like if I had another year to work on this book, I would be better and take a little bit more. I did that because it's in a certain time frame, but when I go back after the book was written and reread some of the interviews with some of the last people who saw it, I still see some interesting statements in there that pushed them as hard as I could while recognizing that they weren't forced to stay on the phone with me. So it's somewhat of a balance there. And I got what I could out of the interview. If they sat down again, it would be nice to follow up and push further, but that would require their cooperation. I may have. One thing I don't answer is I don't make a declarative statement in public. But the facts show that at least what I've done is that there's not a shred of evidence that she ever made it out of there. So it's townhouse a lot. And that the theories of other individuals happening to be in the area street, at least the names that have been quoted against defunct. Is it possible that she didn't make it out and that those boys more or less were telling the truth? Sure. But I want you to look carefully at what they said, and I want to follow the conversation on it. I'm hoping that it's more media that's involved. And let people see for themselves and judge for themselves. I think that kind of attention, bringing that to the case at this point, is the only way that we're going to get answers. And put some pressure on without information.
Yeah, I find myself when I'm reading it, or even within life in general, I find myself, if I ask a question, and sometimes the fault in that makes it if we don't believe or we think there's more, we have a tendency to keep asking the same questions. So when you say Frankie came on the line, I can see where that is. That's like hitting pretty roughly.
Yeah, I know all the people I spoke to who were there that night are Lauren's roommates or closest friends. The case, and as it pertains to the persons of interest, that's been a dark cloud over them. And for other people who were there earlier that night or who were in Lauren's inner circle, it's been, it's haunted them. It's been a nightmare. And, very few of those folks were talking about, specifically what they knew about this night and about, this world that they were participating in at the time. So, here we are all these years later, and I think the pressure over the years with those families kind of tacit blessing, they agreed to open up.
I think it's really important too, and I'm super grateful you had a good relationship with him. You be able to come and do that as well. And reading the book, this came up quite a few times, and then as I was going through it, more threads and information, people like having that opinions that they have, and really, it was interesting to me. There are many possibilities around the issue of lawyering up, and I find interesting. And so, very first glance you think about that, of course I would do this, or of course I would do that. It's taking a deeper look, this might not be as black and white. But how do you feel about it? And because you're a journalist, does that ever cause you to doubt somebody's story, or maybe they're, I hate to say innocent, but for lack of a better term, maybe innocent?
I mean, honestly, you can see it from both sides. If you're the last people known to be with Lauren that night, and that police are asking questions, even if you weren't necessarily involved in the ultimate outcome, even even with that lawyer, you should be showing up to the police and investigators, private investigators, and doing everything you can to disclose everything you can. That's not what the investigator can get.
Right. I found that really interesting too. I understand the lawyer and our captain of what you said, having somebody who's legal representation. But I found that reading this and reading through some of the threads and everything, it's different. The photographs is I don't know the actual term of that. Janky, but anyway,
There's a little bit of jargon. I apologize.
But I found it kind of frustrating that I felt like they were able to hide behind that. Like I said, somebody's going to, with their attorney, going to the police and giving information is one thing, but to hide behind the fact that I'm not my neighbors with me. I think that's where the litigation lies. It was really interesting to me because when I was reading some of the research a little bit, there's a lot of passionate debate.
I've covered crime forever, and I'm familiar with city standing in various issues. Covering the police, understanding what they face, lawyers and sources.
Excuse me, can you turn it up, please, a little bit?
Turn it up? Okay, sorry.
You got it.
Although I don't want to make anyone else that.
You're flying back on those
Right.
How about now?
Better?
You want to be better talking louder too. Kind of silly, but right in the book and the first and second time, well, not that there's one too much that you research this, but when it happened and now, did you ever feel like I'm going to solve this case? I'm going to find out what happened and all that stuff, or is it more just presenting what you found?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't have started this if I didn't think that it could lead to solving the case. Whether I'm going to have a gotcha moment in an interview with an individual, I super high expectations for that. I hope that, but I think I gathered enough information to put in this book that other people could also take the mantle. There's lots of reporters around here and around the country who could give fresh attention to this and ask hard questions along with myself. So at the end of the day, that's my greatest hope.
Sure. I think it's what we're all before. I think probably like Hollywood and TV kind of spoils us a little bit because it seems like every time you watch a show or a movie or something, like there's always that moment of, oh, that happened in front of the case, I think. And now we have like in reality, a level playing field with that.
Yeah, I think that in reading through the files, it's a kind of starting point, and seeing the various statements and how they evolve and how they don't necessarily agree with each other. I think that was my job as a journalist to try and make sense of it all and explain it and show the evolution of statements. Like J. Rodenbessel has a boy, the last name guy, who saw Lauren allegedly and said she walked out the doors, gave 3 interviews to private investigators and gave a different tone to each time. For instance, if you want to get into the level of detail, Jay spoke with private investigators the first time, and there's a lot that he said, but the last moment of opening the door and watching her walk down the street, he said he opened the door and she walked down toward the corner of College Avenue, and that was that. In a follow-up interview with the private investigators, the second one, he said he opened the door as she started to walk out, and then he goes back in the second floor of the Juliet balcony and looks off into the distance, but you're all the way to the corner. And in the second interview, he says, maybe I saw a shadowy figure. In the third interview, he says, I went up to the Juliet balcony and I looked out and I definitely saw a shadowy figure. And he says, you know, how close? He said, very close. And then when I got him on the phone finally, he took it even a step further and said, you know, I think it was Israel Keys, who was a serial killer who was in action around that period.
I mean, wow. I was going to say, ironically, Bloomington had a lot of issues with people attacking people then, and I remember walking in that area in the same time period, and then this guy laid it in really horrendous damage and killed somebody, and I'm wondering if he didn't kill her. I mean, I'm sure the police investigated that.
Yeah, they went down various avenues. There were some big public pronouncements by, for instance, a former prosecutor from the neighboring county saying this could be genuine missile. A guy who killed a student 4 years later.
Right.
Yes, there are bad things that happen on the streets of Bloomington, and there are people out there that the one thing we don't have is any evidence of her, you know, walking down the street. Not a single piece of evidence about her maybe being spotted here or there. I know that around the time she allegedly walked out, well, we have like a vague witness saying, well, I heard a woman scream, not really describing that woman. So almost nothing.
We were in reality. In reality, it was kind of you lost in your thoughts. An interesting aspect of it as well. Why do you think the police are so willing to collaborate with you? And as a journalist, do you find that happens a lot in terms of
Why they did or didn't?
why they were so unwilling to collaborate with you?
That's in New York. I have lots of sources in, say, the NYPD, and I can find out what's really happening in an investigation. Here, not so. The police department was, you know, announcing it as if it was an achievement that you had, you know, 50 tips coming in, and then you know, like there was a national program that came out, and they're like, boy, we got 40 tips the next morning, and that, but lack of real substance, and then the police have always, you know, early on their budget, you know, well, what are they doing really? Because there were no actual facts being presented. Even persons of interest, they wouldn't name them. They very, very delicately, for helping them, saying we're not getting, you know, some of the cooperation that we hoped for. So I think that in returning to the case, years later, after getting nowhere and I ended up getting a sit down with the police chief, I started reaching out to former people who were with the department who had retired, moved on, and door knocking and reaching out, and I did find some. So I got some information in that and learned some things I didn't know, which was helpful.
Do you get that with other things that you report on? The unwillingness to answer questions or like keep all the information?
Yeah, it depends on the department. Like I know I covered at one point when I was into the journalism in my hometown, I covered a dozen police departments, and maybe 2 or 3 of them would just always get on the phone with me and tell me what was up, and you always had a couple that were just like really annoying and wasting my time. So each department handles the media differently, I think, and I think that's part of the issue maybe in my coming to town. I don't have the long history of Bloomington covering the departments. I'm not friendly with the cops. So I'm still somewhat of a stranger.
Sure. And so in the book world, and I know there's a
Yeah, there's a lot. The book could have been twice as long, but I was afraid that, at some point people would just put the book down because it's way too involved. Like, those private investigative files, for instance, the rabbit holes that the investigators went down, I thought it would have been gratuitous just to explain, like, here we are, and, for instance, sorry for the buzz. Not so good. Maybe. Can you hear me now? Let me go back up to
There you go.
Hello. Sorry. Rabbit holes. There was an image that popped up that was shared of a young-looking blonde woman apparently in a basement being tortured with being wrapped around her. And it looks like Lauren. She used her imagination, so they hired certain firm that really deep dives into the dark web to try to find where it came from. That was a rabbit hole. It was just silliness. There was no actual work. Just playing on the dark web, putting crazy images up. Psychics who share these vivid images of this and that. Oh, I saw her being dragged off into a lake and screaming, or being driven up the street in the back of a truck. I honestly, I didn't waste my time with that in the book. I tried to just stay focused. And as far as additional detail, like what the witnesses told the private investigators, I could have gone into it twice the detail. And yeah, it might have added something to the book, but you have to sort of get down to what is digestible.
And yeah, some of the also when I was going to team was the part, to take chunks of it out and try to keep it back together. That's actually probably to do that. And
when I hear people that read the book in a day, I'm like, oh geez, I'm going to sit up at some of that.
I think it's a compliment. It's so good that they can put it down. So
right.
Which is really good. That was so odd to me that I had to take my time and take this. Did the book take in a direction that you didn't realize it was going to go? So like you're writing this book, you're beginning to write this book, and you start this book, so now that you're done with this book, did it go in a different direction? Or was it pretty, like say fiction, for instance, there's always been, a weird turn.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I gathered the information up to a certain point and then figured out how to lay it out. I think if I were to just write it like a straight news article, it would be boring. I had to apply some narrative structure to the story. I don't know.
Sure. And we're going to kind of start tapering down a little bit. And this is a rough, not really rough study. I think it's hard to ask. Just like you know, from what you've researched and learned, do you think it really what happened to Lauren?
Yes, absolutely. I think that us being here, people, I have 5 interviews today on TV stations and various people that covered the case in the past were like, and essentially being brought up to speed on stuff that wasn't reported. It's 2024, and now we are. At least I put in there most of what I have. It allows us a fresh start. It shows the persons of interest and maybe someone else who's out there that this case isn't going away. They thought that they can move on with their lives and that we're at this stage where we are. And it's getting a buzz, getting some attention. That's great to see. It only takes one of them to crack, and they've had relationships over time, whether it's an ex-wife or a close friend who reads the book or sees it on the local news, like, hey, one person tempted to make that call. I've investigated, one piece of information that hooks very serious doubt into someone's story, put that out there, and suddenly the card starts to fall. So I really do believe that that's happening.
Just like I said, like at the beginning, I wasn't here, and so the part of training is really exciting. So she had said she was here when it happened, and she remembers the time kind of searching for her and everything. It got really quiet in there and everything. That when we reading those books, it gave me energy. Like I really want to know. I don't know what we can do now, but I mean, it just put it on my heart. And that has everything to do with it. So those are my things that I had about the book. But in the spirit of it being an independent bookstore, I ask for authors on a regular basis. You all get a bookstore. What are you going to gravitate to genre-wise?
I've been a journalist my entire adult life, and obsessively following one story after another. I decompress half of it. Now I've got a wife and 2 young kids. It's hard to go away and I've been obsessed with journalists for so long. So I think as far as people I look to for inspiration or people I've worked with in offices who have had more experience than me, who are particularly good at writing or whatnot. I remember one of my fellow journalists who's got more experience and given me
That's all I had. We're going to open it up for Q&A out here. I'm sure you guys have all kinds of questions and everything. So not waste too much time. When you ask a question, I might repeat it so people out there that are basically asking might know what the question was. So, go ahead.
I'm curious, when you interviewed the boy that saw her last, you said you had 3 different interviews, and the story was a little different each time.
The private investigators had 3 different interviews,
Right.
and then I took a break.
Can you tell me about the time frame? Was this like maybe a weeks, a month? But you seem like you got more information like that. It just seems interesting that it's changing and more information coming out than we thought it might be and stuff. Maybe you've heard other things. So I was curious the timeline for that.
So she went missing in June of 2011. In late August, the family hired a private investigator. In September, they approached people, got to sit down with Jay, with his attorney president, and did one interview. 2 days later, they sat down again in September with Jay. The first interview, Rob was there, Rob Spierer, and he was actually leading the question. The second interview, you got private investigators who are taking a bigger role in the question, and that's where a little more came out. Then it was like a year later that Michigan, and they confronted Jay again and asked him again to go through some things, and that's when he suffered third, absolutely prison time. Right. So then it was, not 2 months ago that I got Jay out in his name.
And at that time, did you bring out the other person you thought?
No, we did not bring up a specific person back then. Interestingly, when they got Jay and Corey talking, they both mentioned the exact same person. It was real sweet. Yeah. And they were talking to each other behind the scenes, back and forth before they got on.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah?
So I had two. One, People magazine had a theory about Spierer having a heart issue and doing cocaine, and I was curious if that was true, and also as you being a journalist and me being a college journalist, what's some advice you can give to journalists who want to cover crime?
Okay, so the first question, I know that early on, I was reporting about the drug use, the cocaine, and the heart issue. That was even the first call I got from Lauren's friend, Frank Moran, was that she has QT syndrome, a heart condition, QT syndrome. So that's been out there since the beginning. And yeah, that's helped fuel the theory that her heart stopped. And then this chaotic night where mixing drugs and alcohol and falling. The second question was what advice
for college journalists covering crime?
I think find mentors, local mentors in the media. I think people are happy to speak with you from the local papers and TV stations. They like to feel like people care and they will give you some advice about covering the local police crime and maybe give you some sense of how to go about things.
College girl, they got abducted about 8 and done walking home. They found her in Brown County, and the perpetrator left his phone there and her body, and he's in prison now.
They're in Nestle.
Yes, Nestle. Right. What's the latest with that? Is it get done?
I believe he's still in prison.
Yeah, but are they still thinking that maybe?
No, they shot that one down.
They shot him down.
Yeah. And the DM of he left his cell phone by the body.
Yeah, he dropped his cell phone.
Yeah, I mean, he was easy to find the body.
But he's
Sorry?
Yeah, he's out of the picture.
He's out of the picture. Yeah, but he got a lot of press.
What a dumb girl. He dropped his phone. Sorry.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
Okay. I've read your call to Jay and Corey. I wonder because those weren't very good lights shed on them, have they tried to reach out at all? Have they had PR, family, lawyers reach out to try to give different accounts or shed a better light on them? Or have they completely ignored you since those phone calls?
I mean, that was my shot at them. And I call them and say, hey, there's a book that's coming out. I reached out to them, I didn't get callbacks, but I kind of strategically went at my reporting to, and yeah, I kind of knew that because of the network of friends, that they would find out that I was working on the book. And, sure enough, Corey, when I got him on the phone, Corey Westman, the guy she was out with that night, when I got him on the phone, he was well aware that I had reached out to a girl who called at 3 in the morning in the midst of this crisis this morning. He knew that I had called her, and he knew that I had called. He practically knew everyone I had called. It's a little weird, but I thought that's fine. That works to my advantage because they
of negativity from the police department and the lawyers and that are represented in those three guys, or not much? I mean, I know they took them to court, the family took the boys to court, and they lost that case. So have you gotten much?
Have I gotten anything from the boys?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they hate me. Corey ranted at me because I was calling out like the only comments he gave us. Maybe a year or two was him calling to yell at me and say some interesting things in the process. Great, getting on the phone, even if he's under the veil of amnesia here. And as he's yelling at me, he's also yelling at the Spierer family. And he's also, when I told him, hey, your lawyer said that he had amnesia from being punched, and he threw his own lawyer under the bus saying, well, that's not what I said. So it suggested, hey, did he really have no memory of that night? It kind of called it into question. You learn things when people rant at you. Jesse hadn't spoken to anyone, but as I kind of peppered him with questions here and there on Facebook, suddenly he's responding to me, and I went back and forth with him over the course of hours early on, where he's in the midst of his ranting, he'd be after like some pieces of information that were useful or reported at the time. So anger could be a good thing, rather than just like ignore it.
Here's your advice. Poke the bear.
Could you repeat the question because we couldn't hear her?
She had mentioned that she was there for the original search, and she was surprised at the restrictions they gave them as far as where they could or could not search.
Yeah, I mean, I know that when I think of searching, I know that there's a lot of well-intentioned people who went out. If indeed she was within a couple-mile radius where people were going or here or there, maybe in the vast landscape of Indiana, it's like it's still with all these people not really covering a wide area. Then with months later, the police went to the landfill in Terre Haute and searched a certain area of the landfill. That was kind of the reality of futile effort at that point.
I'm sort of surprised most people aren't aware that the last few people we saw her, she was passed out. Downtown, she was passed out. At least one person that she was not even cognizant. She couldn't understand contracts, and there are several stories that have circulated that the body was members. I'm wondering if that was.
Well, there's no evidence of that. Yeah. Well, first on your question, one thing I'll hone in on there is there were certain points that witnesses saw the two of them together when they were in Smallwoods Plaza and on her floor. Corey's with Lauren and 4 people step out of the elevator and there's a confrontation. Corey was the one who was talking. Lauren was barely standing on her feet and not communicating at all. Along the walk up the street, Jesse carried her part of the way. She fell a couple times. At one point, she was sitting on the staircase. He smacked her head, loud enough for a witness. Saw it and confronted them. It was Corey who was doing the talking, Lauren wasn't. So in those private investigative interviews with the boys, Mike Beck, there were 4 people in the townhouse. There was Corey and his roommate, Mike Beck. Next, 2 doors down, there was Jay Rosenbaum and his out-of-town friend, David Blesnack. David Blesnack, the claim is he was asleep, so he's out of the mix. Corey, the claim is he had amnesia and he was passed out upstairs, so he's out of the mix. So you have Mike Beck and you have Jay Rosenbaum as narrators, really, of what happened in those final moments. So what I was interested in, what they told the private investigators was they really, that Lauren wanted to continue partying, and that they, she didn't want to sleep over at their urging, that she wanted to continue partying, and they talked about her being somewhat communicative, and somewhat alert to be able to monitor. So contrast that with some of what happened just before then, might lead to some additional questions. Can you go into more detail about that with the boys? What did they know about what happened up to that moment? Are you aware that flight nurse was affected? Really minutes earlier, she wasn't communicating with them. I could go on. Your question.
Well, I was just saying, in your opinion, Carlos, I know you can't say anything that, but
what do I think happened ultimately? Well, I mean, obviously, I'm not drawing a conclusion in the book. I present what I define as good facts and statements. I know that here we are 13 years later, and there's no evidence that she ever made it out of that townhouse complex alive. But I'm not. You can't rule out the possibility that, despite everything we know about this, that perhaps she could have still made it her way up and seen what would have been about regards that someone happened to swoop in and avoid detection. All these years later, and we never hear anything about it ever again. I'm hoping that people read this stuff, ask questions, see something that I don't see, present something that I don't know, and let's have this, put this case under a microscope now and in the months ahead.
Is it true that there were 2 cameras? There was one in Smallwood and there was one in an alley here?
Yeah, there were a few cameras along the way.
When she left to walk back home the last time, she was seen in that alley. I never heard anything on that.
She was seen around, I think the last images were after, along the way they stopped at Penton College, which is basically halfway between where Lauren lived in Smallwood Closet and the townhouse complex up the street. And after he takes her up the stairs and knocks on the door of 4 girls, a few of them who were partying with them earlier that night, and got no answer. He comes down the stairs, and there is video showing them right after that. They then would have walked up a field, not a field, one lot, empty lot, basically up to the townhouse. And there is no video of them walking into the townhouse along that area outside of Jay's townhouse and 2 doors down Corey's and Mike's townhouse. There was no family and tried to reflect that in their own words in the book. I think they used the word of dealing with schizophrenia, where they're living two lives at the same time, kind of solutions, have a hard time looking, before June 3rd, because it makes them sad, and they have a hard time looking past June 3rd, because they don't want to let go of this case. They're still trapped in that night, and at the same time, life goes on. They have Rebecca, who's Lauren's older sister. She got married and has kids, so they're participating. From Lauren's room into their grandson's room when he comes and visits. So it's a strange existence. One that's hard really. Yeah, well, he's Bo Dietl is like I'm not sure you're familiar with him, but he's somewhat of I mean this in the nicest way, a blowhard. And the most arrogant person you'll find in movies, living and breathing his own image. He was in Goodfellas, whatever, various movies depicting that tough guy persona. But it wasn't him. He came during the first visit to Bloomington, but he has a respectable investigative firm, which was former NYPD detectives in Midtown Manhattan, and so it was those seasoned investigators who were coming to Bloomington to really carry their effort.
Okay. The book was finished. You finished the book a year ago. Has there been more information collected? And is that something? Are you still pursuing it? Is it something we expect to hear more about in the future?
Well, there's been no real news developments, but I think in the past year I've continued to look at the 5 investigative files and seen some interesting things in them that I think I didn't wrap my head around in time to write the book and writing the book. Yeah, I think every author, particularly a book that involves an investigation, might have certain other things, little lights that go on later on. I would love to rewrite this book.
Maybe I should clarify, are the police and detectives still working on this, or is this kind of a closed case?
It's an open case with no public development. The theories, their private investigators get tips that are reminded to say nothing, to trickle in here and there. But no, in the past year there's been no development.
Is that time for one more question?
I can ask afterwards.
Just to clarify, Warren was not going to attending college. I'm the one with all the cameras downtown. My cameras were all turned over to the police. And the reason you don't see her leaving the building she was at is there were no cameras on that building ever when it was built. So that's the problem. If she left, and she left on 11th and Morton, you don't see her leaving because there's no evidence, because there's no camera.
You mean 5 North Townhouse, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That's at the corner of 11th and Morton.
Right.
On the southeast corner. And Lauren, when she was leaving the Smallwood area, she went up with the other guy, I think it was Corey, right? Shawn?
That's right.
And she went up the alley that's between College and Morton. She went up the alley, she traversed the alley, and then there's an undeveloped area which now sits a building that I own. And so it was our cameras and our film that went to the police and went to the Spieres, and the attorney representing the boys tried to get the film the next day, and they were given nothing. But the problem is that there were no cameras on 11th Street.
Right, and that's, yes, the huge problem.
Yeah.
Because that would have, if you merely had a camera on that street, you'd be able to answer the question.
And the last thing, just because we're all here, I spoke to Rob last night, and he knew Shawn's book was coming out, and all he could say were just the most unbelievable things about all of you, all the people here in Bloomington, the firemen, everybody, all the hundreds, thousands of people that went on the searches. He and Charlene were just blown away really by all the help from everybody in our town, and that I think has really helped them. My wife and I went to Rebecca's wedding, and I can't even talk about it. So, thanks.
Yeah, Elliot, he's wonderfully connected to the family and been very helpful.
All right, you can ask that. We can throw one in there. Go ahead.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
So in the back, one thing that caught my attention was the middle paragraph. The evidence ended up on the doorstep of a group of wealthy, well-connected male students. I don't know if you could provide a little more detail, but well-connected is in, I'm assuming, their parents, lawyers, and then the wealth. So how did that contributed to them of being immune from? I'm still stumped with the immune from any sort of prosecution or being able to get more information out of them. I don't know if that's a question or not. But.
Well, they didn't just have any kind of lawyers. They had people with, high-priced lawyers. Their families did well, and I think they had. If I recall, and don't hold me to this, but Jim Boyle, who represented one of the boys, Mike Tyson in the rape trial. These are some big names. People who, according to individuals I spoke to this club, were the type who will absolutely